might be. It's Kurz here, and we are live, or you're watching this at a later time. Welcome to all. Today is an interesting day. I just kind of woke up a little bit later than should have, I guess, and did my morning routine, and then checked in on some of my favorite YouTubers that give me information about what's going on in Ukraine, and he had an interesting title on his video, so I thought I would do a reaction video this morning or this afternoon. It's morning. It's morning for me. So I don't really know what's going on yet, but we're gonna react and hopefully give you some good information about what's going on today. So, and just to give some background information, this is Speak the Truth. You can find him on YouTube, on a few other platforms, I believe Spotify. I'm not sure if that's true, but I'm pretty sure he is on Spotify. Excuse me. And check out his content. He has some great content, also does a little bit of traveling himself, so here we go.
So today is kind of a big day for the entire world as a whole,
morning.
And I guess that's one way to look at it, at least. Now, today, NATO is beginning its strategic nuclear drills inside of Europe, or on the outer edge of Europe. Europe's pretty vague, I know, but in Europe. Somewhere in Europe, okay? Now, South Korea is also now beginning their exercises alongside the United States.
What does that mean? Nuclear deals? Is that what he said? What are those?
Well, and North Korea is apparently going to be testing nukes today. So Belarus is also being an idiot. Iran handed over some kamikaze drones, and Russia is still a terrorist state. That's pretty much what we're going to be going over real quick.
So let's, just for all the people that support Belarus, sorry, whatever you may be doing, it hopefully isn't detrimental to the entire world.
The next, 15 minutes or so. Oh, and Russia also just accused the U.S. and NATO of not respecting territorial integrity. So that's how we're going to kick this thing up.
Wait, what? U.S.? Did they say NATO of you? Okay. Whoa.
So it's good. So, with regard to the world war rhetoric that we've heard honestly over and over again, I actually spoke about it a few times, separate times here on this channel or whatever you guys listen on, this podcast platform. And it seems that we are moving closer, and maybe not to like this type of situation entirely, but someone or a sense that like certain countries are just going to be completely shut off from the entire world entirely. So prior to the attacks that happened inside of Kiev just a few hours ago, multiple countries that have actually were advised. And they were advised, then those countries then advised their citizens to leave Ukraine immediately, which more than likely indicates that they are now going to be ramping up things here very soon. Now, the countries that were on this list won't shock you. They were the one that were given the notice before these strikes were actually about to happen. It was China, Serbia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Belarus, and Egypt. Lots of stands in there. So I think I've actually been to, where have I been? I've been to one of those stands. I can't remember which one it was. Uzbekistan? I don't know. It kind of sucked. It was cold. I remember I went in.
That's interesting. We listened to Inside Russia here, and he's currently in Uzbekistan.
In the urinal. It wasn't a urinal. It was like a hole. It was a porta potty type thing. And it was so cold. It was like so cold that all the piss on the seat was frozen. Everything was frozen in there. It was miserable. That's how cold it was. It was terrible. Anyway. If we're somehow getting the...
Looks like you need to wear 2 layers in Uzbekistan.
At this point where World War III was a thing, and I do not believe it's going to be, or I do believe it's going to be something like Russia, China, Iran, and some other little countries that are really meaningless, like Belarus, that would be against the West. Iran is also denying the fact that they actually supplied these kamikaze drones to Russia. So Iran's spokesman, yes, not a spokeswoman because they don't have those in Iran, he actually said that they did not provide these weaponries, or they haven't provided any weaponries, to any side of the war, which is clearly a lie, because how in the world would these have gotten into the Russians' hands? We've also seen Iranian drones being used and shot down in the southern portion of Ukraine for a few weeks now. I forgot to actually mention this. Which some of you may not know this, but Russia actually attacked Kiev with a swarm of Iranian kamikaze drones, which some have actually managed to get through the air defense and actually hit the city center.
And I didn't do a video on it, but there is another YouTuber that we do watch. Pull him up real quick here. Who has some great content as well, and he's actually in Kyiv at the moment, or he lives in Kyiv. So he does videos of him inside. Well, he's obviously living there, and so sometimes the sirens go off. The air sirens go off in Kyiv, and so he has to go into his basement, and sometimes he even has to go to a shelter in the middle of his episodes. And he does similar episodes to what we're watching right here. This is his
drop in that
channel.
Price, and it's a good sign. It's a great day for our airplanes. So 80% are working for now. There's the search and rescue operation is still ongoing.
This is
to the area. However,
this is
let
the
me tell
drone
you,
attack
to the business center.
that happened yesterday, or 2 days ago, or yesterday. Depending on where you live, I'm sure. And so he lives right around where this happened.
Restricted, but anyways, let me tell you something about it.
Hi guys, I'm here near to the business center that was attacked today. There are some cranes that are working for now. There's the search and rescue operation is still ongoing, and from the information we have already, 3 men died there during the attack, many more injured. Unfortunately, the family died, husband, his wife, and wife was pregnant.
And that is very unfortunate. So as you can see, that is what it is looking like right now, days ago, right after this drone
Here you
attack.
can see lots of the press guys. They are waiting for permission to enter that perimeter.
And he, as a civilian, is not allowed to enter this area. That's as close as he was able to get for the footage that he was doing. And I believe in that day as well, he had to actually leave his home where he lives, and went to a shelter. Because that was the safest place. His home could have been, hit by the destruction that was going on at the time. So he had to actually go to the shelter.
A ton of them, but some did get through. From what I do know, right now, 1 civilian has actually been killed in the last 13 hours or so. The Ukrainian army has shot down 37 Iranian.
And he's saying 1 civilian. Obviously, our other guy said there was a few people that were injured or lost their lives in the attack. He is close to the ground. We don't know. It's either way, it's awful. There's lives in danger at this point.
They're called Shahed drones, I believe. Shahed drones and 3 cruise missiles. So none of the cruise missiles have been able to hit any targets. They were all shot down. But they did shoot down 37, and some were actually able to get through. And I know Russian propagandists are trying to push this. You guys are going to see them. What look to be like Ukrainian police officer type individuals that are actually inside of Kyiv, and they're shooting their AKs up at these drones. I mean, they didn't really have anything else, and they're flying. I mean, what else are you going to do? I've seen also an image which is kind of goofy, but it's a lady who's walking around, and she's claiming that she's ready to take out the drones, but she's holding an AT-4. And I don't want to be like the bearer of bad news, but that's not going to work. Just gonna throw that out there. You can't utilize an AT-4 against a drone. It has like 4,000 or 5,000 retweets, and I'm thinking to myself, like, there can't the people in the world really not realize that an AT-4 is not utilized to take down a drone. I don't know. It's cool. She's posturing. She's looking awesome, I guess, but probably should save those for tanks and personnel. Anyway,
well, I mean, if you don't have the personnel to take down a drone, and drones are taking lives at that point, I mean, what else are you gonna do? It's unfortunate, but times of war make interesting decisions. Sometimes not always the foreseen decision, but in foresight might be the best decision.
But when you have a country like Iran, which hates the West and America clearly, they're going to be getting involved in this war in some sort of sense, kind of like we are. Okay. Not on the scale that we are inside of Ukraine, but they are involved indirectly for sure. This is very different than what we have seen in the past, like in the 80s when we were utilized. Basically, America was using Afghanistan to fight against the Russians indirectly. Now we're having like Iran and Russia fighting inside of Ukraine, essentially, or let me rephrase this. Russians fighting inside of Ukraine against Ukrainians, America using Ukrainians to fight against the Russians, and Iranians using the Russians to fight against so-called America. It's I don't know. We have the people inside of Ukraine, they're getting the blunt of all this, like multiple countries, because Russia wants to take it back and wants to make it there. So it's somewhat irritating.
And also, I mean, and yeah, no, I believe that's pretty much right on point.
For me to watch this kind of stuff over and over again happening. This is some sort of like, the way I look at it, this terrorist type acts being committed by real countries.
And that I have, I try to dispute that at any claim, at any moment that I can think of. But when I watch videos of innocent lives being taken by a supposed governmental okays, I don't know exactly the right term, but governments are allowing these things to happen to other people, and I don't think that civilians have the capability of the things I've seen. I think it would have to be some kind of group of people, and not only that, I see these group of people claiming these attacks and saying these attacks were for military establishments. Like they're saying it themselves that they're for military establishments, but this at some point, enough mistakes, you make the same mistake so many times, you're at fault, like you got to be at fault at some point, I believe.
Not just like by ISIS or some random spinoff of some terrorist group. Like, what is a terrorist is a question that shouldn't be asked. But in regards to the kind of things that we're seeing being committed, you might have to ask it and what the actual definition of one is. A person, this is what it is. If you were to type this in on Google, this is what's going to pop up. A person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of a political gain or political aim. I'm going to tell you right now, what they're doing, it is what it is. It's terrorism. It is. You cannot tell me, you who are watching this, you cannot tell me that you throwing kamikaze drones in the city center of Kiev is not a terroristic act. They are doing that to instill fear on the civilians. 100%. 100%. What else are they doing it for? So now that we have the Russians doing this,
and I am the viewer, and I'm supposed to dispute that, right? And like I just tried. I mean, as I said, the only disputation that I can make is it was a mistake. There's some kind of mistake. Intelligence was given wrong, but at some point, the amount of mistakes you make that are so similar in the same way, and lives are being taken because of these mistakes, you have to be accountable.
And they're using Iranian weapons, trying to instill fear on the civilian population, using these kamikaze drones. They literally have one purpose, which is to hit any target they possibly can indiscriminately. You couldn't convince me right now at this point that the Russian government is not a terrorist state. It'd be very difficult for you to try to come on here or in the little comment section down below and try to convince me otherwise. You know what? I want you guys to. I did post this on my Patreon. I asked them, and I said, hey, it'd be very difficult for any of you guys, but please do, please. So one person did say that the Ukrainians they did use a car bomb inside of Crimea. I am still not 100% convinced that was. I'm not. I'm not able to share.
And even if they did, what has America has made poor choices in the past that we haven't been held 100% accountable for, and at the end of the day, we still try to make the best choices. I try to say that we make the best choices as we can when we're thinking clearly, which is hopefully, most of the time, as I speak for all of us as Americans. I hope that we try to better ourselves to be better than this, than using weapons of mass destruction to hurt innocent lives. I hope that we better ourselves to a higher standard than that.
share with it because the individual who told me some stuff about it, he asked me not to share for a few days. And it's kind of what I told you guys beforehand. What did I say? It seemed like it was something that had exploded above it. Anyway, so then you also have Belarus. I just smashed my iPad there, getting a little fierce. Then you have Belarus, who's claiming that they're preparing to fight against a terrorist regime. And that is why they're preparing all these troops and all their troops, and they're moving them on this equipment and all over the country. We're starting to see these videos that are service of equipment with new tactical markings on the side of them, which could be indication of a new offensive in different parts of the country that could be taking place. Some people believe there's a chance they could be trying to take the northern part of Ukraine again and all this kind of stuff. And the Russians are going to be going after Kiev once again. I have a hard time believing this. For one, we're going into the winter months. What happened last February? One of the biggest failures we've ever seen in a military exercise, quote unquote, military exercise, where a much larger force attempted to take a smaller force in their own country during a very wet time. What's coming up? It's starting to rain a lot.
So, more equipment that they're bringing up from the front lines. I'm surprised that there's snow yet. I wonder if this might be a complete.
Now, the Belarusian Ministry of the Emergency Situations has actually now received weapons from the MOD, and they're now using these. Apparently, they're only supposed to be using them and getting them if they believe they're going to have to, one, deal with an armed conflict, okay, or two, mass riots. And I don't think right now they're going to be having mass riot issues. And after I had filmed the episode from the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, and I put it up, there was an attack that actually happened inside of Belgorod, inside of Russia, at a military training ground where at first it came out that 2 men had actually killed 11 Russians who were training to go fight inside of Ukraine. Now, the number has actually grown to 30 Russian soldiers were actually killed, and this was carried out by 3 individuals, and 2 of those individuals were actually killed were from the old U.S., like an old part of Russia. Like they weren't really part of, it's kind of interesting the way it works. Russia as a whole is, I don't know, they have so many different, I guess, ethnic groups, okay? And these men, and one of them got the one that actually survived got away. He was shot in the shoulder, I guess. But they were part of the ones that actually are called up to fight inside of Ukraine. Now, it seemed like they didn't have an issue with the fact that they were being allowed to fight, or they were trying to train to fight. It was the fact that they weren't allowed to pray during certain times of the day. So this is why one of the shootings have actually taken place, and I guess it happened an hour and a half after an altercation actually took place. And they went to the shooting range, and I only brought up the fact that they have so many different ethnic groups is because I can't remember exactly which religion these people were. Oh, they were Tajiks? Okay. So with that being said, so my camera guy, thanks for telling me. So Tajiks, but how many? There was a couple other ethnic groups that were there, but they were all Muslim, correct? No, I'm saying that. So okay. The commander was apparently saying. Yes. So okay, but what I'm saying is, so the Tajiks, those ones, they were Muslim. They weren't allowed to pray. I remember when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, they got to pray a certain amount of times during the day. I think it was like facing west or whatnot. It doesn't really matter. But they told the other Muslim groups inside of that camp to not show up to the training grounds because they already pre-planned this attack. So there you go. That's what I was trying to get at. They have so many different ethnic groups inside of Russia. Just this whole thing, this whole mobilization is it's a mess for them, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So as you guys do know, this episode is sponsored by Raycon.
Raycon. Those sound nice. Fortunately, I do not sponsor Raycon. You can always check out Speak the Truth. The description is down below. The original video of what we're watching here. Oh crap. Oh criminy crackets. Hey, come back. Oh, okay, what are we doing? What the heck just happened? Oh. This is not supposed to happen. pretend that didn't happen, folks. You saw nothing.
Так сказать. Шатер, все, видео, фотки, я тебе потом скину. Сейчас, подожди, ну. Это все хантыцы.
Wait, is this the video before the attack?
Сами трупы ищем, сами потому что по-другому никак не получится. Вот это вот располага. Чтобы ты понимал, сегодня мы спали.
Last night we slept with one, from the size of the interior, only one stove. I didn't help but worth a damn. You can hear the raspy voice in my voice. It's awful. Half of the guys got sick with a cold. I'll send you some pictures. So this is the front lines, it looks like. You should see the forest until those two were stolen, because there is no other way. Oops. Step away from the tent. Even you stole the stove. I cannot read this. It's too fast. Hug your hat. Yeah, the tennis shoes are money. As the debate told me, or debut told me, I am your mother and your daddy.
So seeing videos like this, well, you guys have seen them a few different times. Like me being an American, I've been to a couple different war zones and whatnot, and I've done a ton of different training. I can assure you, by seeing this and what you guys are currently seeing, Russians are struggling in regards to supplying their newly formed forces. I'm not entirely sure. I believe that they have a military that is even capable of being 1 million strong, like they claim, because they can't even find these guys cots to sleep on or even a decent stove to keep them warm. It's honestly a joke. And the bad part about it is these men are actually forced to be there. And who really knows what kind of equipment they're going to actually receive once they actually be forced to move out of this camp and move to the front lines.
Так, хорошо. Переходим тогда к самой актуальной повестке.
And most... Crap. The most pressing issue for the last 2 days.
А самая актуальная повестка на вчерашний и позавчерашний день — это была мобилизация. Вот. Хотя, казалось бы, она идет уже
3 weeks
3 недели, и все бы нормально.
It seems like everything is normal.
И вдруг в социальные сети вываливается какое-то дикое количество видеосюжетов,
with any insane number of videos
как повестки выдают прямо возле станции метро в городе Москве. И мне в личку, и не только мне, начинают писать люди из разных российских регионов и городов, которые, в общем,
What's going on?
Несколько дезориентированы. А что происходит? То есть многие губернаторы уже успели отчитаться, что они мобилизационные планы выполнили. И мы тут расслабились. Ну а что? Все же идет нормально. То есть вот шок первых дней прошел. Как вы можете объяснить?
By the way, I have dyslexia. I'm trying my hardest. Can you explain what's been happening in Moscow?
Вот то, что происходило. Ну, давайте, я про Москву.
Are the administrations being excessive?
Вас спрошу. Это что, вот некие там эксцессы исполнителя, или это нормально, или это норма?
Or is this normal?
По сути, проблем нет.
Basically, there are no problems.
Какие проблемы?
Okay.
К примеру,
there are no problems, but only a handful. For example,
там, это единицы. Призвали вновь формировую части люди, которые там быть не должны. Они не потому...
Some people, not because they don't meet the criteria.
Они должны быть согласно тех установок, которые были определены в указе президента и в разъяснении.
Designed by the President of Defense Ministry.
Министерство обороны. Это хронические алкоголики, к примеру. Ну,
but for example, because they are chronic alcoholics, not like it's written down somewhere
что он пьет постоянно.
that someone constantly drinks.
А сейчас, когда он, я извиняюсь, не просыхает,
and now when he isn't sobering up,
пытается
it keeps, or now when he is sobering up, he keeps looking for some way to get the bottle.
бутылку найти, даже его товарищ говорит.
Okay. Even I can't believe they're saying this on TV. It's funny. That's interesting. Even has
Мы с ним в бой не пойдем, убирайте его, потому что
get rid of him. We won't go into battle with him.
Он такой товарищ по оружию не нужен.
We don't need such Conrads in arms.
Ничего не сделает и только нас подведет. Это невозможно.
He won't accomplish anything, and he is letting us down.
Заранее, к сожалению. Тем более мы прекрасно
It's not something you can determine in
понимаешь,
advance.
Мобилизация это не призыв.
Mobilization is something. I didn't get that. There is no medical aboard or anything.
Комиссии мы ничего не проходили. Второе. Многие жалуются на состояние здоровья, говорят.
Secondly, many are complaining about health issues.
Что-то не так, это не так. Поэтому
as is dyslexia. Hate it. As is customary, along the draft of
как обычно на призывной комиссии создали
a military medical commission.
Военно-врачебную комиссию, которая будет в частях работать где-то определить.
A military unit is determined.
Но большинство это вообще тоже единицы.
But those just have to.
Большинство нормально работает. То, что касается
the majority is working fine. I don't think so. That's not what I've heard or seen. But more getting. I mean, I guess I've only seen a handful of cases, but still, that's interesting. It's hard to. That's the thing. That's how media works, you know.
По метро. Ну вы знаете, я не знаю, может быть и где-то и правильно, что эти товарищи, которые прячутся и шкерятся от призыва, вылают возле метро. Но я бы первый пошмонал какие-нибудь ночные клубы, где все это братья сидит и нормально.
Nightclubs where all those brethren are sitting
relaxing. Честно говоря, причем я не думаю, что это.
I don't think it would.
Получил сильный резонанс, такой, как у метро, а народ бы еще в ладоши похлопал.
As the ones at the subway, people might even applaud.
Поэтому трудно говорить, что произошло в Москве.
It's hard to tell what.
Причем из открытых источников.
Without specific resources, it's hard to tell.
Невозможно понять, кто чем занимался, все от этого открещиваются, как что-то плохо.
Everything says they had nothing to do with it.
Ну а что, они не понимают?
At least this gentleman is acknowledging the fact that they're having issues, which shouldn't shock anybody. When you grab 300,000 people, you're going to have a bunch of turds slip through the cracks. So not only this is something that I was expecting to see, I shouldn't be too shocked. Well, you shouldn't be too shocked.
Последний вопрос, у нас немного времени, но хочу, чтобы вы прокомментировали тревожные новости, которые там сегодня с утра поступают с юга, из Херсонской области. Пишут о начале, ну или как бы там пока что вот там от боевой разведки, но говорят, что о приближающемся большом наступлении ВСУ под Херсоном. Что скажете, что думаете? Насколько велика опасность? Готовы ли мы?
Ну, давайте так, я думаю, что готовы. Исходя из тех данных, которых я имею, и вообще то, что они лезут в наступление, для нас это хорошо. Вы не забудьте, что за все это время мобилизации мы пополнили ряды боевых частей, мужиками, имеющими боевой опыт, на восполнение текущего временного некомплекта. Думаю, они вполне эту оборону удержат и постараются.
I would like to also get an explanation on what he means when he says like it's a good thing that the Ukrainian military is advancing, because this is a tough one for me to really comprehend why that is a good thing. Oh, and a little in fact, if you guys don't know this, speaking about the defensive ministry. In the southern region of the country, the Russians right now are losing soldiers, their soldiers, at a staggering rate of 6.5 Russians to 1 Ukrainian in the Kherson region. So keep that one in mind as well. The Kherson region is kind of hot right now. The Ukrainian military has now taken control of the northern part of this P07 route as well, which is something we've been somewhat looking forward to happening. We're going to go switch over to some mapping here. So we got Kupiansk right here. We know that there was an actual...
So yeah, if you want to check out the rest of his video, he's going to go into what's happening down on the ground in Ukraine. It looks like we're done with the reaction of that part. Let's see if he goes into anything else. here real quick. No, it looks like that was it. So if you want to check out what's happening down on the ground in Ukraine from day to day, this is a great source. Speak the Truth. You can check them out. The link is down in the description. This has been Kurz. You've also been watching on the background the Alchemist Code, which is a mobile game. You can get that on your mobile for free at any time you want. This is not a promotion. Sorry. Sounds like I'm promoting. I'm just playing. It's awesome. Check it out. Yeah, this has been Kurz. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And